Today I'm going to show you how to make a super duper easy hand knit pillow using Bernat Blanket Big yarn. For this you can use any size square or rectangular pillow that you want. I'm just using an 18-inch square throw pillow that I found at a thrift store and washed really good and got for $4. So if you want a cheap option, that's one. Go to the thrift store, find a cheap $4 pillow and wash it real good and it's ready to go. Or you can buy a pillow form, or if you just have a throw pillow you want to, add a little cover for and change up the look, that also will work. It just needs to be square or rectangular. Either one will do. If you want to see the written tutorial for this project, it is linked down below on my website. I put the link down in the description of this video, and there's other information down there if you are interested, so be sure to check it out. And I also have the full supply list down there. You can finish this project in about half an hour, maybe an hour tops. So it's a super quick and easy project. Definitely a fun last minute gift or something like that. Let's get started. For this project, we're going to be using Bernat Blanket Big yarn. This is a super duper chunky yarn. It's jumbo size 7, and it is 100% polyester. It's washable. It's great stuff. I really love this stuff. Very soft chenille yarn. And you can get this, I get mine at Michael's. You can get it online. You can get it all over the place, but a lot of times at Michael's you'll find it for whenever the yarn is buy one, get one 50% off, which is what it was when I got mine the other day. So definitely try to check it out whenever that's happening, because this stuff isn't necessarily cheap, but when you get it on sale, it's worth it. But the good news is for this pillow, you're only gonna need two skeins of this yarn. You're only gonna use part of the second skein, but you do need more than one for the size pillow that I'm doing. If you use a smaller pillow, you could definitely get away with one skein. And I also have another video of a small round pillow that uses one skein. If you want to see that, I will link to that down in the description as well, just in case you're looking for a definite one skein project. All right, so I have this pillow. This is just a random throw pillow, square. It is, let me get my tape measure and I'll tell you how big it is. All right, it's approximately 18 inches across and 18 inches tall. So this is an 18-inch pillow. It does not matter what size pillow you're doing. It's just you're going to be making a chain that is long enough to go across the, one side, so 18 inches long at least. And if you do a smaller pillow, you just will do less chains. So you could do whatever, or you can do a bigger pillow too, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to be chaining 10 chains to be big enough for my pillow. So first, what we're going to do is do a slip knot. So we just wrap, I'm holding the yarn here in my hand like this. I'm going to wrap it around my fingers, make a loop, and then you take this working yarn, the part that's attached to the ball, and you just push it right through the part that's on the back of your fingers, grab that loop, take your hands out, and then you're just going to pull the loop to tighten that knot up right there. And then you can just kind of pull to make it a little bit smaller so it's not massive. So there we go. Your loop is about, I don't know, I'm gonna say maybe 2 inches tall-ish. Well, I got a tape measure right here. We'll see how tall our loop is. I'm looking at like the whole of the loop. It's about 2 inches. So this is like your first chain. So we got one now. Then we're gonna just put our fingers through the loop and pinch the yarn, the working yarn, and we're going to pull it through. And you just want it to be about the same size. So that's 2, 3, 10 chains. So real quick, I'm going to just do a check and make sure it actually is enough. So I'm taking my pillow and I'm just going to kind of lay it on there, and it is the perfect amount. Just want it to go across your pillow comfortably. All right, so move this guy back out of the way. And now we're going to start knitting. And what we're going to do, I just want to kind of explain this before we get started. We're gonna do our first row of knitting going across, and then instead of going back and forth like this, like you normally would, we're going to wrap around this way, and we're going to flip it around, and we're going to do a row of knitting this way. And then we're going to be going around in circles, but then we're going to fold it in half, so we're making like a tube that will encase our pillow. And that way, at the end, you only have to sew up one edge because the rest is just like a tube or a sleeve that your pillow will fit into. So this is our last loop right here. I'm just putting my yarn up and back behind. And we're going to start here on this first or this last loop. And I'm just going to put my fingers through there and pinch up a loop. Like that. And I don't want to make my loops super huge. I want to make them, you know, where there's like 2 inches coming out, but I don't want them to be like real big, like this, like real, because then you end up getting a gappy pillow. And that's one thing I've learned with this stuff, with the finger knitting or the hand knitting, is that you got to make your loops not too big or get gaps. So there's the first one, and then we're going to go under this next chain, which is right here. Just go through there, pull up our next loop, make it the same size. And then do the same thing on each chain going across. All right, so there's my first row going across the top. I have 10 loops that I just made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now, instead of going back this way, we're gonna rotate the whole thing like this. We're just gonna move our little tail down and out of the way. And then we're gonna work along this edge of our chain. This right here is just the knot. That is not actually a loop. So we're not working into that. We're working into this one right here. So just, if you're not sure, you can just count starting over here on this end. So this is the first loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you see this isn't actually a loop. It's just the slip knot. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to pull my yarn over and pull up a loop, same size as the other ones. And then you just continue. So you go to the next chain. There we go. And we're just going to continue that across. All right, so there we go. Now we got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 loops on this side too. So now we have 20 loops all together. And now what we're going to do is just go around. So now I'm going to flip it back around. Now we're going to do a few rows just like this, with it laid on the flat on the table before we fold it up and do it that way. But just make sure you don't leave any yarn slack in between the 2 loops here. And we're just going to go to the next one, pull up our loop. And just continue going along and pulling up a loop through each loop. Make sure your loops don't get twisted on you whenever you're going to put your fingers through the loops. Make sure it's not accidentally turned the wrong way. You can usually tell pretty easy that it's flat. And just continue along. When you get to the end, just turn it around and continue. So I'm going to go ahead starting on this row just because I like to not have to think very much when I'm working on this. And I'm going to grab a piece of scrap yarn in a contrasting color and use it as a stitch marker. So I just finished this row and this row. So I know this is my first stitch. Now you can also just know that it's the opposite side as this tail, but it just helps me to know exactly where my first stitch is without even having to think about it. So I'm going to go ahead and knit this first stitch, and then I'm going to put this piece of yarn, I'm just going to loop it through there. It'll hold because this yarn's so grippy. You don't really have to try too hard. And you just continue on for a few more rows before we fold it in half. All right, now I'm on my next row, so I'm just going to take this out first. And just be sure to not leave any slack between these two stitches here. The last one of the first of this side and the first one of this one. You don't want to leave like a big amount of yarn here in the middle, or you'll have kind of a hole there. And you don't want that. So we're going to do another round, and then we will flip our, you can see it's starting to curl up and want to do this, but it's inside out right now. So we'll fix that in a minute. But just go ahead and do another row, and then I'll show you how to do that. All right, now that we've done a few rows, we're just going to go ahead and fold this in half. So what you do is you just kind of flip it, and then we're just going to roll it up onto itself here. So we're just flipping it the other way. And here's my first stitch that I'm about to do. And just continue on. Flip it around and just continue. And we're just going to continue this until either it's big enough to go all the way on your pillow until your pillow can fit down inside of it, or you run out of yarn, which is probably going to happen first if you're making one the same size as mine. So I'm going to go ahead and continue this until I run out of yarn, and then I will show you how to join on the next skein of yarn. All right, so I've done, I think, about 16 rows. I honestly wasn't counting as I went, but I just counted up, and I think it's somewhere around 16 or 17 rows. It doesn't really matter how many rows, it's just the point is that it needs to be as big as your pillow. So at this point, I'm not quite there, and I just am running out of yarn. So I'm almost there, but not quite. So I'm going to show you how to join on new yarn if you also run out of yarn. Now if you have a smaller pillow, you might have just enough, and you won't have to do this. But if you do, it's no big deal. Let me get my end out here. To join on our second skein of yarn, I'm going to show you the knotting method. There's another method where you can melt the two ends together with a lighter, and that's another option. The only thing I don't like about that is you get this like hard, melty plastic part in the middle, or in that one spot, and it ends up being rough, and you can feel it later in the blanket. At least it seems, or in the pillow, and I just don't really. I mean, it's nice and seamless, but then you get that hard, crusty bit, and I just really don't like that. So I'm going to show you this other method instead. What you do is you take your short tail that's left and your new yarn tail. You're going to like overlap them, right? We're going to take this one and tie it around this one. So just take it, wrap it around, and then we're going to tie a knot using just this cord. So we're not tying these two together. We're tying a knot around this one. So we're just going to wrap it around and just tie a simple knot like that. There's that one. And then we're going to come over here. So that's our other tail. And this is our tail from the pillow. We're going to wrap it around the new working cord here. New working yarn. So just bring it around and tie a knot using that end. So now we have this yarn tied up here to this side and this yarn tied here to this side. And then you're just going to take and pull both sides until the knots come together like that. And give it a good pull. You really want to pull it good. And now they're joined. So now, yes, you got all this crazy bulk here, but we can cut it all off and it won't really be that noticeable. So first I'm going to cut off the tails, and you can cut them right up next to the knot and they won't come undone. It's all good. And then you can just kind of trim. You're trimming the fluff off, but you're not cutting like down into the actual part that holds the, you know, the internal cord. There's like an internal cord on the inside. You're not cutting that. You're just cutting the fluff. You're giving it a haircut, basically. All right, so there I trimmed it down. So you see we have this knot that's not too crazy big. It'll blend in pretty good. And most importantly, it's soft. It's not gonna have that hard, crunchy plasticiness. All right, so now I'm just gonna continue on. And if I can, I like to try to keep that knot on the inside just for bonus points. Like right now, it's right here. So I should be able to keep it on the inside of the pillow, and you won't even be able to see it. See, it's right there. So at this point, since I'm getting real close to the end, I'm gonna go ahead and stuff my pillow down in here just so I can see really how many rows I have left. I'm just gonna be real careful I don't accidentally lose any stitches while I'm doing this. All right, so now you can really see how much left you have to do. So here's the bottom of my pillow, and here is the top. I just have to get it up to here. So you just want to get to where it comes all the way up and you can pinch it together, and then we'll finish it off. So I'm going to continue on. You can just leave your pillow in there now if you want. Just be sure you don't accidentally start leaving extra space of yarn in between, since this is kind of stretching it a little bit now, but that's no big deal. Okay, so I have now gotten to the end of my pillow. I have done enough rows that the pillow is fully encapsulated in the case. So that's what you're going to want to do. You want to be able to pinch it closed without much of an issue or anything. And now we're going to finish it off. So here is my last stitch that I did here. This is the last one I did here on the side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this loop and we're going to take the loop right behind it, match them up, layer them on top of each other like this, and then you're going to bring your working yarn through. You're going to pull a loop up through both of those. Okay? That's your start. Then you're going to take this loop, and it's okay if it's kind of big. We're going to tighten it up here in a minute. You're going to take this and pull it over on top of this next loop. So just lay it right on top of it like that. Stick your fingers through there, and then you're going to go on the other side and find the matching loop on the back side, and then you're going to put your fingers through that too. And then you're going to pull up a loop through all three of those. Like this. And then, but before we continue on, you're going to pull on this loop to tighten up that loop. So it's not so big. So you just kind of pull it and it'll snug it up. And then this loop might be really big, but again, we're going to tighten it, so no big deal. So then go ahead and go to your next loop. You're going to layer this one we just brought out on top of this one. And then you're going to go on the back side and find the matching loop on the back. And put your fingers through all three loops and grab your yarn and pull the loop through those three. And before we continue, just pull this yarn to tighten that loop up a bit, like that, so it don't look so crazy. Kind of pull it down a little bit and just continue doing that all the way across. Here I'm on my last two loops, so I'm just doing the same thing, tightening that loop up, and then now we only have one loop left. So now we're just going to cut our yarn, and you just got to pull this end through that last loop, pull it to tighten it up, push it down real good so you got a real nice little knot there. And then you can just weave this yarn tail down into or across your pillow or wherever you want to do, however you want to do this. You can get real good and weave it in like really, really well, or you can just shove it up inside the pillow, which is what I'm going to do right now. And if this yarn tail comes out and pokes out later, I may have to weave it in better. But this is kind of the easy method. Just shove it in there. And there you go. So this is going to have this one side that has the seam along the edge, and the rest is all nice and squishy and wonderful and ready to put on your couch. So that is it. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and you'll try making one of these lovely squishy finger knit or hand knit pillows. Please, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please leave a like down below. Be sure to comment and let me know how it went for you, or if you have any questions or you want to tell me how you feel about this pattern. I hope that I explained it clearly. If you have any questions, just let me know down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Be sure to check out my blog post for this if you want more info. I'll have that linked in the description below as well, and you can check that out on my website. There's a printable PDF version of this pattern as well if you want to just have this printable with the instructions and take it on the go. And you can find that in my shop, and I will link that down below as well. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.